Phoenix won versus NRG. It's like, what a bunch of nice young kids. They both
Right?
want to be good at the game.
Right? I want to know if this guy thinks this guy's a jerk-off. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Tower Dive. I, of course, am your host, the not-so-humble Captain Hooks. And with me, as always, is the super humbled Panda Man.
Am I humbled? I don't know. I kind of feel like I probably have the bigger head in the room.
Well, you have a large head. But
It is large, yeah.
I don't know if you mean it in the metaphorical sense of having a big head.
It's a mixed bag. Definitely.
It's a little from column A, little from column B.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
We do have a special guest today, freelance writer Cass Marshall, who wrote an awesome piece in PC Gamer, which we are going to get into. We're going to talk about how League of Legends and really esports as a whole could learn from the WWE. And if you listen to our show in the past, we definitely touched on something like that. So it's kind of nice to see someone with actual writing chops do what we cannot do.
We really just like people to agree with us. That's all
really,
we're looking for, though,
really
in a guest.
So how you doing, Cass?
I'm good, thanks, and it's great to be here.
Thank you for coming on. Like I said, we love having guests. We love having people who have a much greater handle on the English language than we do, because we are not what one would refer to as particularly eloquent.
I just kind of stumbled into the gig. I fully expect any minute now I'm going to get an email like, hey, you can't write. Get out of here. How do you get on here?
Hey, stop doing this.
Yeah, I'm just seeing how long I can trick everyone.
I think that's a pretty good policy. That's basically what we've been doing for the last year or so.
Yeah, I mean, people have been telling us to stop all the time, but
Constantly.
we just have a problem with listening.
Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's the big headphones. I think it helps.
It does. So yeah, I mean, let's just kind of jump right into things. So your article, as we kind of go through it here, it was basically how League of Legends could learn from the WWE. And as I said, what we said was we wanted, we might have taken it a little bit of a step further with we wanted, like maybe somebody to attack somebody with a chair, or run out from the back, from behind the, behind the monitor. It's like, oh my God.
Stone Cold Stunner right onto a folding table.
That's Double Lift's music.
It's pandemonium.
Absolutely. I remember, I grew up watching the Attitude Era, and I remember, the Spanish announcer desk.
Oh, the poor Spanish announce tape.
Every third match, they would be like, oh my God, and have to get out of the way, and someone would go right through the desk. And that still happens in 2016, I found out.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is I really sort of want to watch a broadcast in Spanish, because I feel like it just ends at some point. And nobody gets to finish it because the table's gone.
Yeah.
Spanish wrestling fans have no idea what happens at the end of Raw or any pay-per-view, because the table goes and their announcers are gone. So for the last hour, there's never anything. It's amazing. Spanish announce fans years haven't ever seen the end of anything.
That just seems unfair.
Or just without announcers. It's just match sound.
Just cameras on mute.
It's just cameras and body slam sounds.
I'm just, are they getting those Spanish announcers therapy for the constant, power bombs?
The PTSD.
That's a hostile work environment, frankly.
Somebody call
Absolutely.
OSHA.
So, I mean, I don't know how I would feel if, like, every week, once a week, somebody came over and slammed somebody through my desk and into my computer. Like, well, now I can't get anything done.
Yeah, it's seems like it'd be pretty bad for productivity and
morale, frankly.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you think you're doing a good job, and then there goes Randy Orton through your table. And we're done. It's like, all right, well, I'm going to go in the back. Let me know when you need me next week.
Maybe it just goes to one of those, like, Native Americans on a checkerboard screens every time it happens, with Tone playing behind it.
I was going to say Girl from Ipanema playing behind. Technical difficulties.
That's what I would do. For sure. So go ahead.
I was going to say, watching the Attitude Era, there was definitely, there were faces and there were heels. And, it was a little silly. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he was a face, even though he was swilling beer and swearing he was a white collar hero. And then you had Vince McMahon. You had, The Rock was a heel for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, but eventually he kind of transcended the whole face heel thing, where it didn't matter what he did, everyone liked it.
Yeah, there was a while where he was like the snooty dude who thought he
Yeah,
was the best. And then I guess everyone agreed, yeah, he was the
yeah.
best.
Eventually he does. Everyone's like, yeah, I guess he's right, actually. But and in your inner article, you touch on this is how League of Legends kind of suffers from a lack of kind of a face heel situation where it's especially North America. I mean, we'll go region to region.
Break
Kind
it
of thing.
up.
Yeah, we'll break it up
Yeah.
a little bit. I mean, there's similarities in both, but there's also vast differences. North America, in my opinion, and listen, if you disagree with me, by all means, but I feel like North America, nobody wants to kind of ruffle anyone's feathers. Everyone wants to be friends, and nobody wants to say something bad, and everyone's trying hard, and we're all good buddies. And it doesn't make for incredibly compelling storylines. And as esports as a whole, and specifically League of Legends in this regard, is trying to be an interesting broadcast, you know, that many people can watch, unless you're like super fan number one of League of Legends, it kind of can get a little stale watching some of these teams play because there's just no personality.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have 10 teams. And you can tell each team is kind of trying to eke out its own thing. You have Echo Fox kind of like leaning into the traditional sports thing,
Mm-hmm.
especially since they have Rick Fox. You have NRG. And NRG, you can tell they're going for very much the we're great guys, we're fan appeal. You know, they picked up
Yeah.
Santorin, Kiwi Kid, Quads. Those were not competitive, we're going to Worlds pickups,
No.
especially Kiwi Kid. They were, we want fans pick. And
Or,
that's
or
respectable.
Kiwi Kid.
That's fine. That's a strategy. Go with it. But then you have like Phoenix One, and I vaguely know who's on Phoenix One's roster. Like I've read the list of names.
You got to kind of cut them a little bit slack. They got a team like 4 days before the deadline is to lock in a roster.
But and the problem with something like that is you can't expect to be kind of competitive. So, in my opinion, what they could have done is instead of being competitive, be obnoxious.
Just being big dicks.
Right? I mean, am I wrong?
I don't know. I feel
I
like
mean-
if you're gonna play at the bottom, ranks of the LCS, if you're gonna talk a whole lot of smack, you need to be able to at least back it up a little bit.
No, because then they could be the jobbers. They could be the Brooklyn Brawler of the LCS. Where they talk a big game, but they're never going to win, and it's kind of it becomes the lovable loser type thing. Because there's no way that these five guys can go out and play these games and really have any kind of aspirations that they're going to be like, we're going to win LCS, and then we're going to go to Worlds, and we're going to totally no. It's like stop right there. No
See,
one's
the Renegades flirted with that really briefly when they had Freeze and, Alex Etch in the mid lane. They were kind of, they even had the Road Ahead video, which is
Right.
80 infused. Alex Etch is a mob boss and Crumb's working on his motorcycle.
yeah.
And that was really refreshing, where they're wearing leather jackets and kind of being assholes. And then Renegades happened. So that was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But they had something going there.
No, and I agree, and that's the kind of stuff is the only, like, when you think of North American LCS and you think of North American League of Legends, most times the only thing comes to mind is CLG TSM.
C9.
But I was talking about rivalries.
Oh, okay, yeah.
C9, when you think of
There's
C9,
no
who's
rivalries
C9's
with
rival?
C9.
That's what I'm
No.
saying. There's no rivalries, and that's the thing is traditional sports have rivals. Traditional sports, there's heat. Like wrestling. I mean, wrestling's all about heat. That's the whole everything that they base their entire who's kind of who's getting a push and who's not. And sure, it's scripted, so obviously that part of it doesn't really come into play. But teams gain like wrestlers and sports teams gain popularity, sometimes because of the negative aspects. I mean, look at LeBron James. LeBron James, one of the best basketball players ever played. Also, probably one of the most liked and disliked players of all time.
I think that's probably going to happen with notoriety, though.
Right, but what I'm saying is that he's not trying to get everyone to like him. He's not saying we're having fun and stuff. He'll say controversial things every now and again. And I think that there's a decided lack of that, even in the fun sense, even trying to just play it up and adding a little bit of theatrics to esports in general. There's just none of it. Nobody's making it for interesting piece. Like when you just say that the rivalry of TSM versus CLG is rooted in what? That they're just two old North American teams?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, they have a really interesting history in that CLG. So CLG was the North American team, and they had the
Right.
streamers, they had the sponsorships, they had everything. And then they went, let's go to Korea. Let's really push this. So they go to Korea, and TSM shows up, and it's like, hey, North American fans who are up during North American hours and want to watch North American streamers. And CLG are over in Korea on a Korean schedule.
Hmm.
And so, there's that where CLG was TSM. And then, Hotshot made the choice to try to do something very competitive, took a huge risk, and Reginald swooped in and took all his fans. And so that's a really great, basis for that rivalry. And then C9's problem is C9's biggest rival is C9 from 2014.
Pretty
So unless they
much.
can get a time machine,
But
The,
the thing is that I always feel like outside of Reginald kind of spouting his mouth off, and outside of Hotshot sort of putting his foot in his mouth more often than not,
which they don't do as much anymore. It kind of bothers
exactly,
me.
they backed off of that. Like those were the best parts, and there's not enough of that. I want to see, teams kind of talking some trash. There's no trash talk outside of Europe. North America, I mean, Doublelift was the number one trash talker, and now the guy's like silent, man, and it's
But
kind of disappointing.
I think what one of the issues is sponsors are so quick to just drop teams that gain a negative persona or gain negative press that the minute you say something disrespectful or off the cuff, people fucking tweet Steel Series and Razors. Oh my god, how could you support this team? One dude said another dude was trash. This is a travesty. That's kind of one of the issues that people are accepting this as like really real life and not a game and entertainment, which it should be.
Right,
well,
and go on, please.
part of that is Riot sort of is pushing this very clean, very sterile. They've done a great job in making this professional environment. Like, I don't want to knock them because you turn on the LCS and it looks like something you could show your mom and say, wow, look, this is legitimate. And she would agree with you. Everyone's wearing suits. But then, it's just gone so far to the point where it's kind of sterile. It's like, how did the game go? Well, we worked hard and the other guys worked hard, but we just did better. But I'm sure they'll do work hard too and do better next time. And it's like, well, that's not
Yeah.
very engaging.
Yay, thanks for the interview.
Have you guys seen that Brendan Fraser movie Bedazzled?
Yes, they're all. That's what I was about. That's all I was thinking
They're
about.
all
It's all canned cliches.
They're all the basketball player from when he wishes to be a basketball player. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we think we played good and they
Well,
played good.
When you work hard, you get rewarded because because it's all about hard work and working hard, and it's like,
Just say something. Just be real for like
Yeah.
1 minute.
Like you point out in your article how Doublelift said he'd rather face Bunny than Smoothie, and yeah, and the crowd went insane.
Yeah, and people go on Reddit and they're like, "Yes, I want to see more of this. This is exciting." And everyone's like, "Well, what if Bunny felt bad?" And it's like,
Who gives a
What?
shit what Bundy feels?
I'm pretty sure Bunny has Bunny has just talked about how happy and comfortable he is on C9. Like, I don't think he's crying at night.
Also, I'm just so tired of everybody being so concerned with hurting somebody's feelings because, oh, I don't want to say anything bad about him because then he might get upset because he reads his Twitter and he says, "Hey, you stink." It's like, yo, I mean,
Yowza.
if that's gonna hurt their feelings, then they probably shouldn't be in this industry.
Yeah, I do think there is like going too far. Like Seraph, Nien are both players who have been like, I was in a toxic environment and fans were awful and it was awful.
Sure.
But yeah, we can agree there's going too far.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's
absolutely.
more
Listen,
the fans going too far than it is other players going too far as well.
right, and there's a line definitely where where it goes from trash talk to just being rude and being a jerk. I mean, I think as the stories go is that Dexter was notoriously a jerk,
Hmm.
Yeah,
just a bad teammate, like mean
Just-
to his teammates.
yeah, and I can't imagine where you live in a house with these other guys and they're jerks to you. And
Yeah.
then you go online and everyone else, like, yeah, I can definitely see that wearing them down. But if, every year the North American teams they get closer, there's sports psychologists, there's infrastructure, there's fail safes to stop something like that from happening again.
Right, and it's just I sometimes I feel like that they're so concerned with being professional and they're so worried with portraying their professional image and making sure they say all the right things that they forget that this is something that people are watching. And let's be fair, outside of actually physically watching the game, it's not always the most exciting thing to watch a bunch of guys, staring at their computer screen, not really having any reactions to anything. I mean, listen, I'll be the first person to say I do not care for Dyrus as a player, as a professional, whatever it is. But at least the guy was animated when he played.
Sometimes.
Yeah, well,
I mean that one time.
Yeah.
There's the infamous
"Get the fuck out of my lane."
Yeah.
Yeah, which was beautiful. But yeah, and you have times where, for instance, for Given, he's on his onstage interview and he goes, "I'm going to the military and this is the end of my career." This huge moment, and the guy was just like deer in the headlights, had no idea how to handle it. And I'm not saying, that guy's terrible, fire him. I'm just saying, like, interviewers should be able to roll with those things.
Be prepared for stuff to happen that's not off script.
Yeah. Everything is not, how'd you do? I did good. What do you think you're going to do next game? Probably still good. All right, great interview. Catch you later. Thanks. It's just not interesting. And that's the big thing, is that also these interviewers just ask these inane kind of, I don't care about the answer questions. And no one's knocking them. They're doing their job to the best of their ability. But I don't know. Maybe make it a little more interesting. Maybe... I don't love the concept of it. Maybe ask a loaded question. I don't know. It's worked in other sports in the past. Maybe force the guy into either saying, "Oh, I don't want to answer that," or to have to, put him in a position where maybe the next thing he's going to say might not be, "We're all friends and everybody tried hard."
Oh, it's especially bad when you have something like NRG versus Phoenix One. And, like, neither of those teams are going to Worlds. Neither of these teams are going to be making it to the finals.
No.
But, it's like, what did you guys think about the game? Oh, what do you say to that? There's nothing to say about the game. It's just a filler game.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It lasted 43 minutes.
It was a middle of a ticket
and
fight.
And you can tell the analysts are struggling. They're like, well, what a bunch of nice young men. Really like them all. Hope they have fun out there. Like, that's not really setting my world on fire, guys.
Oh, absolutely. And it's bad when, like, when you look at the announced team and it's like, man, the guy who's saying the most controversial stuff is like Freak.
Yeah, when Freak's your color.
Edge. Yeah, he's your edgy guy. Because it's I do think it is a lot has to do with Riot really kind of neutering their abilities to of what they can and can't say. And I do know that I not for a fact, but I do have an idea that there definitely is a lot of, hey, don't say things like this, positive spin everything. There is a lot of that, as far as I know.
Unless you're Deficio, apparently.
Well, yeah, but that's Europe. We're gonna get to that in a minute.
Maybe that's what we need. We need an American Deficio.
But that's the thing, is I don't think anyone has the guts to do that and just say flat out, this was a stupid player. I wouldn't have done that. Or if I was playing, I would have said to do this instead because that's a stupid play and no one in their right mind would ever do that. And that's just bad. You're bad.
Maybe it's because, we kind of have this culture almost of, at least in North American League, that you can't talk trash unless you've done something to back it up. Whereas all the people that can back it up, are currently playing the game. So they're not going to be commentating.
I guess.
I think it's worth saying that there are low moments that we remember, and those like color our perception of history. Like, someone will say, "Oh, I love being a TSM fan, remembering TSM going to Worlds, all these high moments." But like CLG fans will go, "I remember being a CLG fan when Chowster flashed in on Sona and missed that ult." And like those moments are worth remembering.
When Hotshot ran that team into the fucking ground.
Yeah, like the TSM's, sorry, not TSM, the CLG storyline matters because CLG fucked up so much. CLG making second at MSI would not matter. It would mean nothing if CLG hadn't gone through so much as a team, including that 5-man Chowster. Never forget.
You CLG fans.
Yeah. It was tough. It was tough being a CLG fan. I'm glad I've closed that chapter.
I tried being a Renegades fan.
Me too.
We had Chris on our show.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess looking back, it's kind of a weird moment now, but at the time, it was like, yeah, super awesome.
It
And
was
apparently,
great.
he's like
I
public
like
enemy
Chris.
#1. Yeah, he could have, honestly, he could have totally played that off as the ultimate villain.
Maybe
I
yeah.
mean, like outside of the, the competitive ruling, the Renegades thing was sad because, I'm like, Ermilia and them, Ermilia, this is awesome. Alex Ich, yes. And then they just Frankenstein their roster
Hmm.
with like a bunch of imports and people I didn't know. And I'm like, well, we're winning games now, but who are these people?
And it was just so bad to see a team that kind of played so well in the Challenger Series and then come up to the big leagues, we'll call it, and just really fail
Fucking
hard.
choke. Yeah, that
And
was
just
tough to watch.
really look like just getting outclassed all over the place. And it was just really bad. And it was really sad because again, we were like we had high hopes because after having Chris on and talking Renegades, and he gave such a great like he's I give the guy credit. He's a gifted speaker. He says all the right things. He there's an honesty and a candidness to what he has to say, which apparently might have all been bullshit
We're
for
not
all we
we're
know.
not sure.
But and it was just like, yeah, you just wanted to get on board and see this team succeed, and then they just totally didn't.
Which was a shame because they were kind of doing the heel thing a little, a
Yeah.
little.
Well, they came in with a little bit of attitude, with a little bit of arrogance, and they actually had personality. And I mean, that could be part and parcel to having Monte Cristo being one of the major factors in their team. I mean, I don't think anybody understands not just the game, but also kind of what's important and what matters and how to get a team for people to give a crap.
Yeah, and their marketing, their promotion videos, like even when they weren't, we've talked mostly about interviews and like the LCS stage, but like even their promo stuff was all like built around that,
Yeah,
and it was just really smart.
yeah.
Eh,
Well, other things is like other teams. It's like we play League hard.
Yeah, I think what Renegades had was all their stuff looked natural. It didn't look like they were trying to be gamers or they were trying to be cool gamers, and everything just kind of flowed and didn't look weird. Whereas TSM puts out a video, and you're just like, I don't want to hang out with you guys ever.
Even when
Just
TSM,
weird.
even when TSM tries to do something air quotes edgy, um, like when Double Lift joined TSM, that was like the ultimate stab in the back, and they could have done so many great things with that. They could have made the greatest video of all time.
No.
Instead, you had this cringy
Yeah.
talking to Double
Double lift
Lift.
sleeping on a bench
Yeah,
outside the house.
outside talking to Bjergsen, who looks like a deer in headlights, kind of trying to talk like a normal human being, and it's just kind of like it comes off so wooden and so awkward.
I actually appreciated the Yellowstar going back to Fnatic video where he's having a nightmare and it's just flashes of his time on TSM and he wakes up next to his monster mini fridge, which we
Yeah.
all have, of course.
Yeah,
Stocked
of
with
course. Who
Monster.
doesn't have one of those?
Fully stocked with Monster.
And he looks at his Fnatic jersey in the trash, which has apparently been sitting there for like 4 months.
Who puts
And
jerseys in the trash? What's wrong with these people?
And he puts it on, he's like, vacation's over. And it's like, yes, that is the perfect like
Exactly.
level of just
Exactly. Like there was the production was good, and it was just like, okay, awesome. He's kind of spitting in the face of having been in America and did what he did. And it's like, okay, sorry about that. I'm back.
Yeah, it was slightly more sophisticated than flipping double middle fingers and just walking out. Like it wasn't disrespectful to TSM because he did respect the team, but it was like it had personality. I cared.
He should
Sure.
have flipped the double middle fingers, I
At,
think.
at the end of it, it just could have been a still shot of him just double middle fingers with this like ear to ear grin.
Yeah.
Like that, I would have appreciated that. But like I said, with the double lift going to TSM thing, that could have been their Citizen Kane, man. There was so much they could have done. I mean, all the feels that all the CLG fans had. It's like he was your face, he was your rock. You built your whole team strategy around this one player, and he goes to TSM,
Yeah.
and the video that comes out is, "Hey, double lift, let me give you this jersey. Throw that in the trash. Thanks, man. I'm sleeping on park bench." It's like, oh my god, this is like dinner theater. It was embarrassing, and it was so, and like somebody had to watch that and say, looks good.
Looks
print
great,
it.
bro.
You guys are perfect. And I was like, oh my god, could you at least next time get
Oh,
someone to play double lifter Bjergsen? Like,
that would be incredible. You have Michael Fassbender as Beardson, and he just
I,
comes in.
That'd
I
be
love
great.
it. I love it. That would have been better if they would have done that. I mean, they have the budget for it. Make that happen.
But with Double or Yellowstar going over to you, he just has so much more fun with it in general.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's the key, that these guys just aren't having as much fun with their videos.
Well, like I said, I think it's, and I do think it comes down to a fundamental, like mode of thought where on the European side, they're not afraid, and if it offends someone a little bit, they're not really afraid of that because it's like it's all in good fun. Like they're having cheeky fun, to kind of quote Quick Shot for a hot minute. It's not meant to be rude and mean and disrespectful and saying playing for TSM sucks and playing for Fnatic is awesome. It's just like you kind of get the idea. If you're from TSM and you watch it, you're like, oh, what a dick, but like with a smile on your face because it was just funny and it was amusing.
And even when players dislike each other in EU, it just seems less regulated in general. Like North America, someone leaves a team, there's a press release, and it's like, even though I am leaving this team, I want to thank them for their time and
Right.
investing in me. And then in EU, you have screenshots from this guy's stream where he says Forgiven is the guy he hates the most, and I'm
If
like, yes.
exactly, if he stays on the team, I'm fucking leaving.
And I'm just like obviously there's part of that where it's like I can see why teams don't want that being on Reddit. But at the same time, it's like, that's interesting. I
Yeah.
care about the teams. I care about the players as
Exactly.
opposed to.
It creates something watchable because you're like, number one, this is a great player. I want to watch him play. Number two, is the team going to combust around him? What's going to happen? Like, is there going to be a post game fight because he said all that shit, but he's still on the team type stuff? And you're just like, and Perks is a great example. I know you mentioned Perks because kind of, spamming laugh in mid lane. And just, I mean, listen, I love him because he'll say things like trying not to sound like a dick and then follow them up with a hugely dickish comment. He'll be like, oh, yeah, this guy's a good player, but he's definitely worse than I am.
Yeah, and I think Perks needs a couple of years just to figure out what he's doing. Like during MSI, I just really wanted someone to gently pry Twitter away from him. When he was like, "Yeah, I was on vacation, but I was playing 12 hours a day, guys." And someone's like, "So you got none of the benefits of structured training or vacation."
Yeah, right?
And it didn't look good. And I'm not blaming him. He's 17. He's on Twitter. He has how many Twitter followers? Like I can't imagine that's easy.
Yeah.
But when he's a little older and he figures this stuff out, I think he's going to be just like he's going to build a brand because that kid is smart.
Oh, yeah, no, he's definitely, and and especially, I mean, MSI in particular wasn't exactly the most.
It's not a shining moment for G2.
Yeah, it's not G2's moment that they want to look back on and go, "Hey, remember that time we played in MSI?" And they're like, "No."
we didn't even go.
They've rolled with it incredibly well. They bring Sven and Mithy on, and they go, "Vacation is over."
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And it's like, there's that kid in grade school who everyone makes fun of, and then one day he just like adopts a joke, like, "Yeah, guys, I eat mud."
They
You
straight
got
up
me. I eat
Neville
mud for lunch.
Longbottomed it.
Yeah, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, he owned it. You got to move on now.
The
exactly.
recovery was great. But at the
No,
same
and-
time, how do you go on vacation before a giant international tournament? Like, come on.
Where you finished first in the LCS prior to it, so everyone's looking at you like this is the team that's gonna go to Worlds for us. You could totally see.
Oh, apparently there was like the bot lane just was on the verge of leaving, and the
Yeah.
bot lane. So it was like getting them all together to practice was apparently a bit dicey. I'm not an insider or anything. This is just
Yeah.
stuff I've heard around.
That's too late.
I'm
We're
like-
quoting you.
Yep.
Sorry,
Yeah.
said it.
On the front page of Reddit.com.
Oh, I hope so. No, and I know that the story behind it was that the team wasn't particularly fond of hybrid. As what the hell? Why is my camera deciding it doesn't want to work? There it goes. The team wasn't particularly fond of hybrid, and Emperor wanted to just go back to Korea.
Yeah, and I think just every team's gonna stumble. There's no team that's gonna have all brilliant all the time unless you're SKT. You're not
Well,
gonna
even
look
they have
perfect
bad
all the time.
seasons.
Oh,
They
yeah,
just
for
they just
sure.
don't have weird dramatic moments within their team.
But G2 rolled with it. Like when they did the press release, like, yeah, guys, we went on vacation and we're gonna go 2-8, but like, guys, please don't be mad at us. That didn't work. But then when they're like, vacation is over, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
laughed about it, everyone was like, well, yeah,
Nothing could
okay.
have been worse than going, oh, we realized it was a mistake, and now we're
Yeah,
restructuring our management, and now we have this epic gaming practice schedule. No, that would have been
yeah.
weird and phony baloney.
Instead of backtracking and sort of having your foot firmly planted in your mouth, yeah, they owned it later on, but just like, yeah, we went on vacation, whatever, YOLO.
Even like the fact that there's a team called the Unicorns of Love and they
Yeah.
wear, unicorns hats. So
Oof.
they look like beautiful unicorns. Like they're laughing at themselves a little and
Well,
it's like,
that's good because they are tough to watch.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
They
I
started off
never
as like this really strong team, and it was awesome seeing all these goofballs raffle stomping with Twisted Fate Jungle. But now it's getting a little sad.
Now they're just, now they're just a bad team.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's a
This one.
little rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that they exist and like there's that tongue in cheek. And it's not that NA doesn't have these personalities. They have Keith, who the toucan has arrived, who went on an interview and thanked the epic memers out there. Like, where is that guy? Why isn't he being Keith
Yeah.
on camera?
Yeah. Why doesn't he get more FaceTime? It's stuff like that. They need to start highlighting the actual personalities of this league, because everybody knows individual players that are good, but they don't know enough about them, or they don't know if they're like interesting or fun or whatever. It's just like, Bjergsen he's North American Faker. Okay. Well, the dude's like made of wood. When you watch him talk and you kind of watch him in interviews and you just see him in his stream when he streamed, it's just like, yo, I had more fun cleaning my keyboard than watching your stream. No offense.
Have you ever seen this video? It's called EU versus NA streamers, although that's not quite accurate. And I'm a cutie pie, and he's streaming, and he's talking to his cat and chasing his cat around the apartment, and just being I'm a cutie pie. And then it's Froggen, and this intense music plays as he stares at his screen with his head at a 40-degree angle.
Oh, well, cutie pie is the perfect example of that. The streamers in North America are more interesting than the pros in North America.
Oh yeah, but he left the LCS. That is no longer a place for him,
Oh my god.
unfortunately.
Yeah, and Cutie Pie, I mean, the only reason he was playing professional League of Legends is because he was friends with the guys in his team, and once his friends all left, he's like, well, I don't want to play anymore. I didn't even want to play to begin with. I mean, as the story goes, is he got he when he in his tryout for Dignitas, I think he was like talking to Scar and he was saying how AP Caitlyn is OP, and he tried and got fucking shit on. He's like, no, seriously, try it again.
What a
And,
legend.
and that was his tryout. And they were like, all right, you're on the team. Is tricking Scar into thinking AP Caitlyn is a real thing.
That is a real thing. You didn't know that?
It's her traps, man. Her traps are OP.
Cupcakes.
And her net.
Yeah.
It's OP.
That shit hurts.
Those are your kill shots right
No
there.
kidding.
And yeah, and the thing is yeah, those are your great personalities in North America, and they don't want to play professional League of Legends because it's not
I mean, is it
fun.
as simple as some of these players just don't have great personalities for camera?
It could be, but then instead of having all of these life coaches, maybe, I don't know, get like coaches to help them sort of interview better.
We just need a
Well, I
PR
mean,
team.
The WWE has solved this. If there's a team that's just a bunch of burly dudes who are good at hitting things, they have them storm past the interviewer, and then their manager, the charismatic man who's behind the talent, comes up and is like,
Thank you.
they're like the WWE has a lot of solutions for these things. Like you don't want to have someone on camera because they're too young or too shy. You have the manager
Yeah.
be like, talk them up, or
I will gladly throw my hat in the ring to be any of these teams' Paul Heyman.
You gotta start sending out resumes
I
and
will-
demo
I-
tapes.
I will gladly be your mouthpiece, where I will talk about them as my clients. I will call myself their advocate, and I absolutely put my hat in the ring for that. So if you're listening, any team, this is what you need. Trust me. But yeah, and you're right though. That's the thing, is when you have people who are less than charismatic, you put them with somebody who who can handle, talking and answering questions and not sounding like a robot or not sounding like you have canned answers. And the thing is that's the part of the game where really kind of people learn to love you and learn to hate you. You know what I mean? If you go into an interview and you just like you give a whole bunch of cliches, it's just like, okay, well, that's what he was told to say, and I know nothing about him. You don't get a feel for any of these players, even if it is embellished and over the top, and you're just doing it to get a rise out of people. That's good. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, we've talked about NA, we've talked about EU, and I don't know if you guys have watched much OGN, but the trash talk segments on OGN I think are a perfect way that have solved so many of these problems. You just put the guys in a room, you film them talking trash, you take the best parts, you edit it, and it's this incredible segment. You had Coup versus SKT. And some of the lines were like Faker just shrugging and being like, I've made so many of these segments about Koo's mid laner. I have nothing left to say about him. I have run out of insults because I keep facing
Damn.
him and I keep winning. Or we're gonna prove that Koo is the second best team in Korea.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that would be
Damn.
great. I would love that.
And some of they had those lines that were a bit like trash talky. But then you had this was really interesting. I can't remember the players, sorry, but one player was like, "This asshole, he's not using the proper honorific for me. I'm 2 years older than him. He should be using this honorific for me, and he keeps using the other honorific for me, and it's disrespectful. And I hate this kid, and I'm gonna grind him into the dirt." And the other kid's like, "I keep winning. Why should I treat him like an elder?" And I'm like, yes, I'm on board. I want to see them in lane together. I want
Fight.
this so badly now.
Fight.
I mean,
fight,
the LCS
fight.
has a venue for it in Primetime League. They just have to use it and spend less time with a lightsaber.
And,
Or
and,
was
and I
it
mean,
Riv?
and the thing is, they tried it like they try to do stuff that doesn't come across as like goofy and ridiculous, but it just always comes off as like the bad kind of goofy and ridiculous, not the good kind. Like a good trash talk segment could definitely be goofy and ridiculous, but for all of the right reasons.
You just have to get the right people on the couch.
Absolutely,
I
and,
think.
and yeah, and like for example, I think High would be a terrible person to have there because I think High always wants to say nice things about people.
But he also wants to ask nice questions about people too.
Yeah, he'd be a bad person to have. But that's the thing is I think all of these people are just so they're just so programmed to be professionals that they forgot what it's like to just be kids playing a game. I mean, listen, you're trying to tell me that kids between the ages of 17 and 25 playing an online game, multiplayer, PvP, aren't going to be a slightly bit douchey?
They're
Ha-
supposed to be douchey.
has the demographic gotten me? Has it wrong? Are the numbers wrong? Because isn't like 95% of that population terrible assholes?
And I think a lot of the concern, like, what if they end up using slurs? What if they end up being really offensive? That's lazy trash talk. I think their best trash
Yeah.
talk is like the
Well, yeah,
ones that don't rely on
you're
just
using slurs. That's not
Oh, yeah.
trash talk. That's just being a bigot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, but like
You're just a bad person.
people are concerned, oh, if you start with trash talk, that's where you're heading. And I don't think so because
way.
there's it's a skill, it's a talent. Like we've all seen the lines on Summoner's Code that are just really clever. Like, oh, hey, you should go pick up this, then some lemon juice and some cloth. The usual stuff for maintaining your bronze. And people laugh and they share it. That's the stuff that players, are going to be remembered for if they bust those lines out, as opposed to just rude words and really
Yeah.
lazy insults.
Exactly, because well, that's not trash talk. Being a racist isn't trash talk. It's like you're just
Oh yeah, no,
you're just an
absolutely.
asshole.
There's just the concern of the slippery slope.
Sure, and I guess part of me can get that, but if that's what you're worried about, then maybe you should think about the players you have, and like.
Oh man, have you? There have been some European players with
Oh, I know.
like Nintendo Dex. So he's a retired pro. He played on Fusion. I believe
He doesn't he hold the record for most deaths in the LCS.
maybe I think he's like a coach now, part time and going to school.
Mm-hmm.
But he did this thing. So Wall Esports did this. Do you know the pro? And it's like a pro's nose. And then you go, oh, I know that. That's Barrison's nose, and you win a prize or whatever. And Nintendo Next did a parody. Do you know the pro? And he would just put tribunal screenshots from a pro's past, and it would be the most hateful,
Oh, but that's
terrible
such a
stuff.
funny thing to
That's
do.
Oh, it was hilarious. I was
That's
mad. It was one of
amazing.
those.
that's
It
pretty
was one of
great.
those jokes where I was mad. I didn't think of it first. Like it's
Nice.
so clever. You're like,
Oh,
and
damn.
it's like there are definitely pros who have some really bad chat logs.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, we said how tends to be a little more kind of carefree with what they say. They also sport far more bans, competitive bans for toxic play by their pros than North America does.
Yeah, I feel like the North America would have less of a problem with that than EU.
Yeah, EU is definitely. I mean, you've seen the logs from guys like Nuke Duck and Mithy and Forgiven and who is the other guy? What the AD carry who's not on any team now? He was on Elements. That doesn't matter.
Tabs?
Tabs, yes,
Oh,
another guy. All of these guys are pretty bad dudes sometimes, and when it comes to like their suspensions or getting in trouble with League of Legends and it's if you ever you see the stuff that was said and they had things like excerpts from their chat logs, it's really bad.
Yeah, and some of the players can be pretty silly. Like who was the Apex player? It was their jungler. They had a six-man roster, and it was Shrimp and someone else.
Oh,
Eve.
Eve, yes.
And it was like, so we're banning Eve because he used his Riot account that Riot gave him to script. And it's like,
oh yeah.
oh my God, you clearly do not have my sweet summer child. You clearly don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, so, I do think we agree that just giving them the keys and going go nuts with it is not necessarily the best idea.
No, but you can pick
But
out three people that are. I mean, you could watch their streams and pick it out. The hard part's coaching it out while they're out of their stinky bedrooms and in the LCS studio to act like a normal person.
Well, you don't want them to act like a normal person. You want them to act like themselves.
Yeah, like a normal person.
Sure, if you're going to say that. Some of them, but I think it just really all comes down to kind of really, because right now as fans you think you know your players and you have your favorite players, but it's based on that you just like them, but you don't really know why other than he's good and he's on this team. With like traditional sports stuff, like people love and hate Bryce Harper because he's kind of a douchebag, but he's a great player. But I mean, anybody who has paid attention to Bryce Harper, you'll always remember that you'll always remember when the guy asked him about drinking because he doesn't drink because he's a Mormon. And he's like, oh, you're gonna, the drinking age, because he was like under 21. And he's like, oh, the drinking age is only blah, blah, blah. You gonna have a drink? And he's like, yo, clown question, bro.
yeah, and sometimes you'll watch someone stream and you'll actually be really pleasantly surprised. Like, so I watch Sneaky stream. I love Sneaky.
He's the
great.
best.
Oh, so
And
he's great.
he'll
Weird
have his
fascination with buttholes.
yeah, no, that's exactly it. He has his Texas speech on, and just the most ridiculous questions. Like he'll read them and like just respond absolutely straight faced, and he just plays along with it. It's great. But someone submitted this really transphobic thing about Ramelia, and I'm like, ah. And then Sneaky's like, nah, dude, no, that's not cool. And I'm like, that's awesome. I'm even more of a fan now, and that's this really sweet moment where you're like, a player just surprised me because I was exposed to him, and now I'm even more of a fan. I'm even more likely to spend money on C9 stuff, right? So, like, there's nothing wrong with giving players these moments to be human and show themselves off. That can be a really good thing.
Yeah, and I think and I think sometimes that Riot's afraid of that, and they're worried, that you're gonna, your image of them is gonna change because the player has been humanized. You just like you think of players as teams a lot of times. Everyone's like, oh hi C9. No one thinks of like hi the individual player. You just sort of lump them into one big blob. Like with TSM is a perfect example. I mean, listen, I am TSM hater numero uno. In terms of things I dislike about this game, TSM falls into the top 3. They are 1, 2, and 3. But I'm sure
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is,
Yeah.
and I fully admit it, and I wear it. But the thing is I'm sure the biggest thing I don't like about TSM falls into just being Reginald. But he's also probably the best thing for them because when he was most vocal, is when it was kind of, that it created a hatred. Like every time I saw him talk and every time I heard him say something, it was just like, I hope the next team that plays TSM dumpsters them.
See, the thing I had about TSM is I really liked Santorin. I'm like, what a nice young man, and like he likes to work out. That's so sweet. And
He's
he,
also not too bad to look at.
yeah. And then he's just gone. It's like we're getting rid of Santorin. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Thank you. I didn't get too bought into him. But then they bring in Svenskeren, and I hate Svenskeren.
But not because of his personality. He's a nothing. He's
No, exactly. And
a
a big deal is made about him, and he just sucks. He's just a chubby foreign kid with a bad attitude.
I do like that there's just a video of him shuffling. And
like the dance or like cards?
Yeah, the dance.
Okay.
The dance. Like he's just at a ski lodge shuffling. And it just gets posted randomly like Svenskeren double kill against C9, and then someone just posts him shuffling from when he's like 17. And it's just this bizarre moment that like people just found that from his past, and now that's just part of TSM Svenskeren now. Forever.
Reddit detectives hard at work finding videos of Svenskeren shuffling.
Or Meteos playing the trombone,
What is happening? Hold on. Sorry.
What
Pause the show. Stop the show. Is he in the snow? Is that him?
Are you watching it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad. He's actually not bad at it at all.
This is ridiculous.
And like there was a thread. It's like, is this Svenskeren? And someone's like, hi, I'm a shuffling expert here. I shuffled for a few years competitively. He's not bad. He's not great, but I'm impressed. And I'm like, what is this? Like,
I think he's cheating because he's doing it in the snow.
I'm a competitive shuffler? Is that a thing?
Apparently.
It's like, is he looking at him like kind of finger, like hand on elbow, finger on mouth, like I like what he's done here, and not so much there. He's got some raw talent.
He's got it up on the board. He's doing circles. The next is drawing arrows.
Yeah.
What must it like to be like, I'm a professional shuffler on reddit.com/r/League of Legends. Oh, this is the thread for me. This is
Yeah, because
this speaks to me on a level that I before I never got.
I think we're all professional shufflers on Reddit, though.
Not a bad shuffler.
Yeah.
Also,
not
also
a bad shuffle.
I'm watching the video right now. Also, looks like he was a little skinnier back then.
Yeah, he's definitely put on a few pounds in his professional years. He
That
stopped
probably-
shuffling. He stopped shuffling.
Like I said, the shuffling probably helped.
yeah.
Now he's just he joined the TSM house and then he just kind of got lazy. Makes sense.
I love that we stopped the show just to be like, hold the fuck on.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know it was a thing.
Everyone wait. We all need to watch.
We had to fact check.
Shuffle video. Yeah, that's fact checking at its finest right there.
Yeah, there's Meteos playing the trombone. He's like, I am part of the Trombone Brothers. He's not as good as Svenskeren though.
I can't imagine playing the trombone is nearly as fun to watch as somebody shuffle.
No, you don't have to watch it. Knowing it exists is enough.
That's a valid point. That's a valid point. So so let's kind of get, I guess, a little bit away for a second. And let's kind of we're still talking league here.
I don't know what we're doing. Is this real talk? Is that what's happening?
No,
okay.
it's actually not going to get.
It
real.
made me nervous. I wasn't prepared for real talk.
No, I'm never prepared for real talk. I just kind of want to get a more of a feel for Cass here. So who is your team anyway? Like, are you CLG? Are you a CL junkie?
I'm not a CLG fan. I watched someone who was a CLG fan. That's why I'm so intimately familiar with the CLG fan story, because every game he would come into our Skype chat and just scream. Yeah. And it was really painful to watch. Like, Hal, dude, stop. You don't have to do this.
Stop doing this to yourself.
I was Cloud9 in Renegades, and there was one very painful part where both Cloud9 and Renegades were stinking it up. And that was the low light of my League fan career. But C9 have gotten better.
Yes,
that's good.
I think we all expected. I mean, at least I did. Obviously, based on our prediction show, I expected C9 to be very good, and then they weren't very good. But then they got better.
The thing with C9 is it always felt like they're going to get better. They're one of the big North American teams. They have all this money. They have all this infrastructure. It's just how low are they going to go? And I was fully prepared for them to go to Challenger.
Oh, really? I never thought they were going to make it that far.
When they were like Cloud9.
Cloud9.
So lost without high.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, go to Challenger for a split. Figure out what you're doing. This is really painful to watch.
It
Yeah.
irked me so much that Cloud9 couldn't win without High, because I like Cloud9. I've never been the biggest High fan, and like the High apologists and the big High fans annoyed me so much because he would make this, like, I don't know if you've ever read it. If you, I'm sure as a Cloud9 fan, have you ever read his like his blog or his Tumblr, whatever
It's a
it
pretty
is?
bad blog.
Well, he's notorious for making posts and then deleting them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
notorious for it. He'll make
that's
these
weird.
posts where it makes him sound kind of ridiculous, and then he'll delete it really fast.
He's the definition of a white knight. He really wants the community to be the shining example of what esports and goodness is supposed to be, and that's just never gonna happen.
Yeah, and
I will say in Hai's defense, as someone who has worked in like a professional environment, there's a very real chance he posts something and like his PR specialist is
That's
just bursting
possible.
down the door like, "No, Hai, take that down." Like it's possible that it's not him deleting it like, "I
oh,
don't want
I oh no, and I 100% agree that that's a definite possibility. But what I'm just saying is his Tumblr is notorious for having posts and then them being deleted.
to."
Whether or not he's the one doing it, he makes this post where it's like you know, like Pan saying, you know, where he's super white knighting and he's like, I just want everyone to be friends and I don't want anyone to say anything mean to each other, and it's just, you know, we're all people, and it's just kind of like, yo, stop whining. Number one, you own a team that makes tons of money. No one feels bad for you. You know, you're worried that people are saying things, and it's like, stop, just stop.
He just wants people to be excellent to each other. He's
And
very
yeah,
Bill and Ted.
and like I
I
said, I
can
think
respect that.
and I just hate when C9 loses a game and everyone's like, we need High. Bunny Fufu's terrible.
That's what bothers me the most about
Yeah.
it is the total dependency on him.
Yeah, and it's just like, last season it almost felt like the team felt that same way. It's like, all right, Bunny Fufu's gonna play this week. Okay, Jensen doesn't remember how to play mid lane, and Balls is taking the day off, and nobody knows what the hell is going on, and Rush hasn't ganked. What the hell is going on, dude? Like literally a week ago, you guys were fine. You were like a cold calculated monster, and now literally you're playing the worst team in the entire league and you look like a bunch of bronzies. What are you doing?
Ooh,
I will say, I think every C9 fan, like the first game against, I believe it wasn't against TSM. I can't remember the first game they played against, but everyone just like, everyone who cheers for C9 was just like, oh, thank God they're moving and they're doing things and they seem to have their heads on their shoulders. Like, even if they lost, I don't even remember if they lost because that didn't matter. The fact is that, like,
they looked like
they
a
were
team.
trying.
Yeah,
They were doing things.
They
that's the
look
biggest thing.
they looked like a real team, not a bunch of kind of fools walking around bumping into walls like assholes.
When you listen to
Yeah.
their comms, it kind of makes sense. When High is playing, he dominates the comms. He's constantly talking, which is probably what they're used to. And then when he's not there and they have this void, they're like, what do we do now? Is everything okay? Are we losing? We're winning? I'm not
Well,
sure.
Smoothie seems to be stepping in really well. Like,
Yeah.
I actually interviewed Smoothie for Red Bull, and he's just this really articulate, intelligent guy. And he messages me after. He's like, "I'm sorry for stuttering," and I'm like, "Dude, you talk better than I do. Like 9 out of 10 days. Like,
Thanks for making me look like a dick.
Yeah. I think that's what
you
they were
know."
missing. They were just missing someone to talk the entire game.
That's what they need. They don't like the uncomfortable silences.
Which is weird because when Sneaky or Meteor streams, they can't shut up. They're constantly going.
Yeah, but they're not. What are they saying? They're saying like,
Oh,
"Oh, thank
my
you for
butthole.
that." Yeah,
Oh,
thank you. I
butthole.
will be over with the butt plugs in
That-
5 minutes.
that's
Thank
a
you
good
very much.
point.
Like, that's not exactly in-game intel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, if you're C9, you probably don't want Meteos to talk too much because I don't think he has anything actually of import to say during the game. And it's sort of like you need someone to just say, "Shut up, Meteos."
Just
So I
shut
was
your
at a
mouth.
convention, and Meteos and Scarl were the guests.
Oh,
And
God.
this girl comes up, and she's like, "Meteos, can you carry me for a picture?" And she jumps up on his back, and they take the photos. And she's like, "Thanks, Meteos." And Scarl's like, "Hey, I can carry you too." And the girl's like,
don't
"No,
be,
thanks."
don't be a that guy.
Oh,
And they look at each other. They're just like, "What?" Like, it was very hurtful. I felt
yeah,
very bad.
that's but which, by the way, on a side note, I have for some reason, and this is the personal thing, I have a huge problem with the "please carry me in a picture" thing, or the people who want to, like, I want to look, I took a bunch of pictures of me holding League of Legends pros.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I remember somebody made a post about that on Reddit, and I was like, I answered, I was like, but why?
It just seems imposing.
It just
Maybe
seems-
because I'm a bit of a people pleaser. and I don't want to, hold up the line by jumping into some guy's arms.
Well, also, it's just like, here's a picture of me holding Froggen. Here's a picture of me holding Piglet. Here's a picture of me holding a Gank by Mom. But why did you want to do all that?
People are weird, man.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just me. I don't know. It's just. I always found that to be
Nothing surprises me anymore after I saw this thread on the front page of Reddit by a gentleman who's like, I just got banned. And he slowly escalated into driving to Riot HQ and hanging out behind the Riot dumpsters, and he saw Tryndamere coming out for lunch, and he's like, yes, this is my chance, and he jumps out and he's like, Tryndamere, I got banned.
He did not.
And months later he posts, he's like, guys, that was not cool of me. I was in a really bad place.
He probably got arrested.
It's like, Tryndamere, I got banned. Well, now you got arrested.
According to his story, Tryndamere was like, I'll look into that, buddy. And then security took him away.
Yeah. And then, that's what he said. That's what he said because he thought that this guy was going to make Tryndamere a lampshade.
Yeah, so after that, I'm just like, yeah, you're carrying an LCS, bro. Okay. At least you're not hanging out behind the dumpsters at Riot.
Sometimes this community goes a little overboard.
Yeah. And some weirdo's gonna ruin it for the rest of them and grab somebody's crotch. Just be like, I grabbed Meteos' crotch. Come on.
Well, that's
man.
the thing.
We can't even shake hands with them.
Yeah, like you see, and it's sort of, and it's funny because in that thing where there was that guy who took pictures holding everybody, there was one or two that were that he wasn't holding. They just took pictures next to, and people are kind of like, oh, why weren't you holding that guy? Oh, he wouldn't let me.
Yeah, because it's a weird thing to do.
It's yeah, did you wonder why that he didn't let you? Because it's fucking weird for you to come up and be like,
see,
hi,
at that point,
I've never met you.
At that point, I would just Photoshop it, just turn that dude horizontal in Photoshop.
That would have been good. That would have been good. Wow, it looks like you're holding him really strange. Yeah, he laid awkwardly in my arms.
Do you think maybe he showed he showed him all the pictures? Like, no, look, it's okay. I promise. It's not creepy. Look, I did it with him. 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 It's okay.
And then the guy,
and they're all totally still alive.
And the guy takes a step to his right going, yeah, this doesn't make it better. This actually isn't helping your cause at all, as a matter of fact.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. No, I don't want to take a picture anymore.
No more autographs today. Bye.
Please stop.
I can walk out.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean...
Did we do it?
I think we did. I feel pretty good.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it, too.
Cass?
Yeah, I think that was a good conversation, and we all learned a lot about ourselves and shuffling, and
we're better people for it.
We're all better people for it, and I feel good about it.
So thank you again for having me on, guys. I really appreciate that.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. And I mean, this all kind of came together a lot faster than I expected to, because I'll shoot messages to people I read your article and I was like, that's awesome, and we talked about the same thing. I totally would love to have her on a show. So I tweeted you out. I was like, hey, would you like to be coming on a show? And I never expect responses. I'm usually just like, whatever, no one responds. And you did. And I was like, oh shit, time to put this together. So that was kind of awesome. So again, thank you so much for coming on. We had a lot of fun. As always, thank you guys for watching / listening. I, of course, am Captain Hooks.
I'm Pan the Man.
And she's Cass Marshall. Check all of her stuff out. She's a freelance writer. Look her up. I've read a lot of her stuff. It's really good. And we will see you guys on the Rift.
Bye-bye. Tower Dive is myself, Ryan Adams, and my co-host Robert Gersey. You can find more of us at youtube.com/towerdive or wherever you find podcasts. If you have any feedback, you can leave us a comment or reach out to us on Twitter @TowerDivePC.